The only difference worth mentioning between you as you abide here in your physical body and your inner being who dwells in this non-physical vortex of creation, the only difference worth mentioning between the physical you and the non-physical you is that the non-physical you has trained itself vibrationally to the point that there is no resistance present in the energy that would be discernible by you. Now, we qualified that just a bit because there's contrast in everything, and there are two sides to every wave. We're just telling you that the non-physical wave doesn't have the dips and swings in it that the physical wave does. That's why we label you leading edge. You're sifting through greater contrast, but as a result of that, you're coming to bigger conclusions. You're making more happen through the life that you're living. Now, we come forth to visit with you because you've summoned us in your wanting to understand how all of this works. Not because you need to know what we're going to talk about here today in order for this continuum of eternal life to continue to progress perfectly. It will do that whether you know what you're going to come to know today or not. In other words, you're going to sift through contrast because you can't help it. And you're going to know what you don't want because you can't help it. And you're going to give birth to rockets of desire about what you would prefer because you can't help that. In other words, these are the natural consequences of sifting through contrast in a leading edge environment. All of that is going to take place whether you understand what we're going to talk about here today or not. But the difference that this conversation can make for you is that if you can get a handle on your understanding of how this creation works, and more important, of what your job of creation really is, if we can help you to understand, to know that you are sifting through contrast and causing an expanded version of you, and that expanded version of you stands in a vibrational frequency in this vortex of creation, if you can hear that, if you can know that, then for the first time in your life, you're going to know why you have emotions. Because your emotions, every single one of them, are indicators that let you know how aligned you are with this further expanded most version of you, or how misaligned you are, how much allowing you've got going on, or how much resistance you've got going on. This life is causing you and us to expand. But the difference between you and us is that when your life causes that expansion, we take it immediately. We hold the vibrational frequency of it because we've practiced the higher, less resistant frequencies, and it is natural and easy for us to do that. You, dear hearts, however, have not practiced the higher frequencies. You often beat the drum of what's gone wrong. You probe and poke at that problem in a justifiable attitude for way, way longer than is necessary and way, way longer than is helpful. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So why are we talking to you? Well, you've summoned us, but what's this all about? What is this knowledge that we are helping you to remember or find resonance with? What's its value to you? Why is it of advantage for you to understand that you are the creator of your own reality? Why is it of advantage for you to recognize that there are two vibrational aspects of you going on in every moment that you are focused in this physical body? Why is it important for you to know that these two aspects exist and that there is an emotional bond between them that lets you know how aligned you are with what you have created and its furthest extension, or how resistant you are to it? Well, it's not important in the sense that the longevity of your planet is at stake, because it isn't. Well-being is assured. It's not important if you are thinking in terms of even your reemerging into non-physical, and you're understanding who you are and fulfilling your reason for being. Because as you bang around in this physical life experience, you are becoming, and in what you call your death experience, we call it your croaking experience. We try to be disrespectful since there is no death. When you reemerge back into non-physical, you catch up with all that this life has added to who you are. In other words, you catch up with all that you are. So there's no big thing that is at risk if you, as this small cluster of people, or even mass consciousness, doesn't hear this, because the whole thing is so well established. You are source energy, and you are coming forward, and you are adding to the expansion of the universe because of being here in this physical body. And the larger part of you is expanding, and you will feel the utter satisfaction of all of that when you have your entrance or withdrawal from the physical back into the non-physical. You'll feel all of that satisfaction. The reason that we are visiting with you now is we don't think you should have to croak to find that satisfaction. We think you should be able to be here in this physical body and understand the wholeness of who you are. And we think that you are wise enough to tune yourself to the wholest part of who you are. We think that you should be able to be here in a physical body, explore the details, know what you don't want, know what you do want, and use your emotions to keep you tuned to the furthest expanded version of who you are. Because we know this for sure. When you don't feel good. So you can't hold your expansion back. It's a byproduct of life. You cannot hold your expansion back, but you can lazily or sloppily tune yourself out of alignment with that. And when you do, you feel crummy. When you do, you get sick. When you do, you don't like life. When you do, you feel fear, you feel hate, you feel anger. You feel all of those things that are just emotional indicators or physical manifestational indicators of thinking by default, really. Just thinking because it's in front of you. It'd be like sitting in front of your television and there's a program on and someone comes in and says, "What is it?" And you say, "I don't know, but it's really miserable." And they say, "Why don't you change the channel?" And you say, "What?" I never change the channel. I just come into the room and I sit down and I watch what's there. And then I comment on it. Just letting you know, this particular thing is really awful. We're not kidding. That's mostly what you do. You read the front page of the newspaper and you have a knee-jerk response to it. And you watch CNN and you have a knee-jerk response to it. And your kids call or your neighbors do something and you just look around and you respond. You just observe and respond and observe and respond and observe and respond. The good news is every time you observe and respond, you launch a rocket of improvement. But if you don't do something about then tuning yourself to the improvement, then what happens is your life gets away from you. That's why the longer people live in their bodies, the ornerier and the sicker they usually get. Because life kept causing them to expand, but they didn't go. They just kept watching the same channel. They just kept observing and commenting on what they were observing. So this Art of Allowing workshop, this is about the art of allowing what? The art of allowing me in my physical human body, with my physical mind, with my physical ability to focus, is about me using my ability to focus myself into alignment with the furthest that I have become. And that is where true satisfaction comes from. Moment to moment to moment satisfaction. Nothing is more delicious than to explore life and know what you don't want and know what you do want, and then recognize that you've expanded. You can tell because you feel uneasy. You've expanded to a new place, but you've got chronic habits of thought that aren't letting you go there. What we want to introduce to you in a way that you can really feel it, and in a way that we would like very much if it evokes a new decision within you. We want you to be on the quest for the path of least resistance. And we want you to understand that the path of least resistance is this viable, magnificent path because the source within you has already carved it out. All of these rockets of desires that you put over here into this vortex of creation have put a powerful, powerful point of attraction into motion where all cooperative components have been assembled. So the question that this workshop asks of you and will help you answer is, are you a cooperative component of your own creation? We want you to get it. You are the creator of you. You have created a prosperous, healthy, vital, alive, good feeling, good timing, very exhilarated version of you into your vortex of creation. And you've got to find ways of focusing yourself into alignment with that before you can, in this moment, in real time, experience the true version of who you are. You are not meant to be fragmented beings. You are meant to see your life through the eyes of Source. You're meant to understand your world from the viewpoint of Source. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. It is always good to come together with those like you who are coming to know who you are. Jerry and Esther ordered a beautiful piece of furniture in California to be delivered to their new house in Texas. And they waited a long time for it. And when it came, it was all wrapped up. It was a console table, and it was wrapped up, really well wrapped up. And Esther was so happy that it was so well wrapped up because she knew that it would be in very good condition, so well wrapped up. And the nice men who brought it, the white glove service who brought it, that were going to unwrap it and place it where they wanted it to be, as they unwrapped it and Esther looked at it, she was so thrilled with the beauty of this magnificent table, but it was upside down on the dolly. And when they picked it up to turn it over, the top fell off the bottom and the bottom went crashing to the floor and broke its leg and made a hole in the floor and caused Esther to utter something we can't repeat or it would have to be edited, and caused Jerry to utter something even worse. And well, it always sounds worse coming from him because it's so out of character. And so the men stood there with no blood in their faces at all. They were completely good children. No color at all in their face. And Esther said to them, because she had witnessed it happening, she saw the top was just inadequately attached to this very heavy base. There was no way they could have turned it over, given the circumstances that they were dealing with, without what happened happening. And Esther immediately said to them, this was not your fault, this was not your fault, this was not your fault. The top was attached with very small screws. So then Esther and the lovely woman who ordered it began calling the company to find out what could be done. First, can we get a new base? Second, will you pay for it since we were sort of booby-trapped here? And over a sequence of many, many emails, it was concluded by the people who sold the piece that it was not their responsibility. And Esther doesn't really disagree with that because they weren't there. They didn't have their hands on it. They didn't drop it. They probably weren't there when it was wrapped up either. In other words, trying to point culpability is really a sort of ridiculous thing to try to do. And Jerry and Esther are very much believers in taking responsibility for their own experience. And so after much conversation, Esther's email was, we will find a way of repairing it, or we will find a way of replacing it. Let's just leave this where it is. And right before she came to that very powerful conclusion, some bedroom furniture was delivered. Now, Jerry and Esther aren't there. They're only getting reports through the telephone. And a big console was cracked. Right down the front, cracked. The picture shows the crack. Now, since Esther wasn't there, she didn't hurt anyone. In fact, her response was to laugh about it because it's really getting to be funny how much evidence she is receiving as to the vibrational frequency she's got going on about furniture delivery. Or about people doing what they're supposed to do, or about people paying attention to what they're doing, or about people thinking about what they're doing. And there are many tentacles to this. But Esther's email to her friend and decorator was, let's just not talk about any of this